So the agenda for who is this training intended for? Backup references as to how to actually do running HowToQTPVuser main controller. The setup that's going to be needed in order for you to be able to do this. The execution, what steps are required in order to be able to actually run, and of course our overall results, which is what we want to, not so much like analyze results, but what we hope to achieve after actually setting everything up and executing. So, who is this intended for? For those who have not actually performed this setup. So if by any chance you have not actually ever ran into this sort of case, or by any chance you never actually had a case that is intended to having to do with like running a HowToQTPVuser, then this may be for you. And those who have done it, I would like to reference is for those like myself who actually had done it in the past, that eventually found themselves trying to do this again, either by some specific question they found in some service request, but did not remember one specific thing about it. This also hopefully would be for you. And those need a visual aid in order to verify that it works. And this one is also like for myself, who have actually seen like these questions asked, but cannot say for sure if they actually like how to tell a customer that it does work because they've never actually seen it working themselves. And this type of question does not come up very often. So hopefully, like, if you have this reference, then you would be able to actually see, okay, this is how it's done. Although this is specifically a how-to reference guide, some questions can be like, I'm trying to do this, but these error comes up. So normally it does have to do with something that is within the setup. So moving on. So the background for this, how to do this, it's the article on how to run HowToQTPVuser can be found here. This guide is very detailed, and unfortunately in how detailed it is, it can also get confusing. Although if you actually take the time to read it, it's simple enough, but you need to get familiarized with a lot of concepts and certain things that, well, it can be sort of, it does take a while for you to be able to actually just dominate the subject. So the next one is, do we need a HTTP license to run a controller test? This one is actually detailed in this article, but the answer for that is no. You don't actually need a valid HTTP license to be able to run a HowToQTPVuser test. And then what the controller guide says, there is no subject on this on the VuGen reference guide or on the VuGen PDF guide that comes with LoadRunner. So you have to look in the controller guide because since the scripts are created in QTP, and there's no need to actually check VuGen, so you go for the controller. And the only thing the controller guide actually mentions is that this can be run in the controller and some limitations and how to add that script. Because sometimes when you actually do look for the script, it only looks for USR files instead of QTP. I think it's not QTP. Anyway, so moving on. So what are we going to need? So what is going to be our setup? So first thing we need is a license for HowToQTPVusers. So as you can see here, I currently have 25. So this is of course the main thing you're going to need if you're going to run a test in the controller is at least some amount of users for your TUI bundle, which of course contains LoadRunner and Success Professional. So once you have that, then at least you can say in the controller we would be able to run a test. Then we need a valid controller installation. So in this case, I do have this particular Windows 2003 machine with the controller installed, version with the 11.0. So a load generator with QTP installed with NOS that can handle terminal services, terminal server. So in this case, this would be my load generator. And this load generator is 2003, and and it does have QTP installed. So currently we have a load generator with QTP installed, and this one also has terminal server currently installed on it. And this is specifically if you want to run at least more than one user. Because wherever you actually check for how to run HowToQTPVusers, it will always mention anywhere. In order to be able to run at least more than one, you need to have terminal server installed on the server. or at least on your load generator in this case. And the matching versions of LR and KTP. So of course, like if you're going to be running a test, you want to make sure that it's supported. So the quickest way to actually check for this is if you go to the README for LoadRunner in this case, you will be able to find the product compatibility. In this case, it's quality sensor version 11.0, which is what I currently have installed. So good to go, at least matching versions. That should be good. Then terminal server configure for multiple logons. Now this isn't really our concern, because this is something that the customer should already have defined him or herself prior to actually beginning. That would be the, I guess, troubleshooting, or at least the load test. The load generator that they're going to be using has to already have this enabled. But if you wanted to actually check if it's installed or not, the first thing you want to go to is the Windows Components Wizard and Add Remove Programs. So here you have to go to the Add Remove Windows Components part, and you will check if the terminal server is currently checked. That means it's currently installed. And even then, if it is currently installed, you have to be sure that this terminal server does at least allow for multiple logons for one particular account. So the way you can actually check for that is if you go here to run and type gp-edit, which is group policy edit .msc, and it will bring up this window. From here you go to administrative templates under the computer configuration, administrative templates, and then Windows components and terminal services. Once you have this highlighted, it will give you all the options that you need in order to be able to highlight to configure a terminal services server for doing what would be like a remote desktop, or at least multiple remote desktops. So in my case, the only thing I have disabled is restrict terminal services users to a single remote session, because I want to have at least one account that will be able to do multiple logons. So once at least, if the customer is not aware of this, then they have to go to their IT guy or whoever it is to be able to, for them to know. But if you wanted to check for it, at least if you wanted to show at least like, no, this is what needs to be here, at least you have to have this enabled, then you can at least go here and check. It's the same on both 2003 and 2008. The difference, although in 2008 this is known as remote desktop services, it's no longer called terminal server. So, moving on. Now that we know that we have everything that is needed in order to be able to run our test, we want to move on here to what would be the execution. So we want to first start off by preparing the LG. So how do we want to prepare our LG? It's very simple to do the preparation for the LG. In this case, one of the most important things that needs to be checked for is that this is running as a process. If by any chance it is running as a service, then the test cannot be run. I'm not sure exactly why that would be needed, but I suppose it's because the user that has to be logged on definitely has to be an admin, but the process has to be running as a process. Sorry about that. Then the next thing that you have to have enabled is this Enable Terminal Services checkbox on your machine. Once you have that and then you hit OK, it will restart. Mine's already it's already been checked, so it's not a problem. So I'm just going to hit cancel here. So once you have those two checked, then of course you have TTP installed on this particular load generator, then you're good to go. So next we want to prepare our controller. So we go here to the controller, and of course we do know that we have our license, so that's no longer needed. And then we want to go ahead and open what would be the controller itself. And here we have the controller. So the first thing we want to do is add a script. So we'll go ahead and add a, oh wait, sorry, this one else. Gonna have to wait for this to open. Alright, so first we want to add our script. Alright, oh actually this is .usr. So here we just add our script. This is a QTP script, as you can see for the icon. Of course, we wait for it to load. And one thing that you may want to keep in mind, though, is that, of course, like doing a percentage, what is called a percentage mode scenario probably will not work. You want to only have a specified quantity because, of course, like since this is a QTP test, like it's very limited to how many users you can run on a particular test, so you might have to also have set up like multiple load generators. So in this case right now, we're only having one user as far as quantity goes. So now the next thing that we want to do is add our load generator. So here actually does go the main part of actually setting up the test for a KUI user. So in this case, I'm going to add, I should have forgot the name of the generator. So kind of do the IP and stuff. Just running to 162.30 there. 242. 30. Alright, so right now it's down. So we want to go into the details. Now the guide itself, the TTP, how to run the TTP users controller, we'll first want to specify this, that the GUI when runner maximum active under this user limits tab is set to 1. But it cannot really be set to anything else other than 1. It's either 0 or 1. And by any chance, the customer actually may have it set to 0. Who knows why? But you can only set it to 0 or 1. And by default, it's already set to this. And these are always checked. Unless the customer, of course, decided to uncheck them. Who knows why? But you can always check if this may be a particular problem. But by default, once you add the load generator, these will always come checked. And now we move on here. Terminal Services tab. So you want to have this enable Terminal Services Manager checked. And now here, this may be a little misleading because it kind of lets you know that maybe you can run 2 terminals and run 50 users on this. And that is not possible. You can only run 1 user per terminal. So in this case, for example, if I want to run a 2-user load test, which currently that's what I'm only going to be limited to because the terminal server license actually limits me only to run 2 open up 2 terminal servers, so 2 remote desktop connections. That's the maximum they can run according to my terminal server's license. Unless I want to purchase one, then I can run more than 1. So, but of course, that's on the customer. So right now, then I only want to run 2 users. Now, also according to the guide, say for example, if I wanted to run 10 users, I would have to actually open up 11 terminals. And actually set up here, of course, 1 user per terminal. And I'm not sure exactly what the extra terminal's for, but if you want to actually then, you have to keep that in mind. If you want to run like 1 user, then you have to run 2 terminals. If you want to run 3 users, then you have to run 4 terminals, and so on. But for my case, I want to run 2 users, so I got to keep the terminals open. Alright, so the next thing that I need is what the PD account that I'm going to be logging into. As you can see, you can connect to existing terminal services sessions, but more than likely these are not going to be active unless the customer has them active, which again, I'm not sure why he would have them active or you would have them active, but you want to have them new. So in this case, I'm going to connect to my server, to my load generator, with the administrative user. And the domain will be localhost, since I really don't have a domain within these virtual machines. So here we have this checkbox. Once you okay this, like this checkbox, what it will do is once the load generator connects, it will open up RDP sessions. So in this case, I'm going to have only 2 RDP sessions because that's what I'm allowed to run. So let's connect. So as you can see, well, success. I have 2 of them. And what I can do with these right now is I can close them because I don't want to keep them open for when the test actually runs. I have them out to existing ones, and I have closed them. So now when the test runs, it'll open them again. But specifically for the server, I won't actually get to see them. So now I'll go ahead and actually then remove this because this is not what I want. So here, of course, I'm going to set how many users I'm going to be running. I'm only going to be running 2 because of my limitations. limitation of only being able to run 2 remote desktops on that terminal server. And my load generator will be this one, just the one that is connected. And of course, I just want to be sure here that I'm going to run them simultaneously. Now, just in case, because you always hear, or at least you see everywhere in the guide, that you can only run 1 user at a time, that, of course, that's a limitation that specifically, or that is actually what is mentioned only for the load generator, and that tab that we were looking for the users, you can only run 1. But here you can also, this is where you set how many users you're going to actually be running. So, now that we have everything ready for the execution, then we go for the results, which in this case is not exactly just like looking at the results, the analysis results that comes up at the end, but just being able to run these. So as we can see, they're beginning to initialize. And it does take a little while, so I have to wait. And I'm hoping it will run. Okay, so as we can see now, my 2 users are running, so that means, well, it's successful, and I'm able to actually run this test, which, well, pretty much would be the overall purpose of this. So as you can see here, the result would be the successfully running script or error. So what happens if we get error? In this case, what we may actually see for errors would be the MDRD process is not get created or something like that, or not being able to connect to the load generator, or maybe something with the account. If it's something with the account, of course, then we have to check for that we're able to do multiple logons. So that would easily be just opening up like multiple RDP sessions for that particular server or computer and see that we're able to connect to them. For the MDRD process, that also would be that either terminal server is not currently created there. So it would be just a matter of trying to check that the terminal server currently is installed. One way of pretty much verifying that everything does work, though, would be the simplest way would be just to run 1 user. Because 1 user just requires for pretty much just having the remote desktop enabled. So right here I have already set my user set. Say for example, I will go back now to my load generator. I'm going to wait for this. And I have to disconnect it because if not, then I cannot really change anything until it's disconnected. Check the details, internal services. It's currently not disconnected. Okay, now it's down. Check the details, internal services. And here, I don't actually have to do this. I just need to connect. But of course, I'm only limited to do 1. If you want to do this, of course, the only thing you got to make sure of is that you're able to do remote desktop to the load generator that would be running. Which, of course, that is enabled on the load generator itself. So now we wait. And this probably would be the easiest thing to do, just to have 1 running user. But one thing you always want to make sure of is that you're not actually using the local host as your load generator. Like even if it's already set up with a terminal server or things like that, it can always run into problems, or at least that's what I've seen so far. I'm not able to actually run multiple sessions on my local host machine. So pretty much that actually does put an end to everything that I have to say. And